So over the weekend, everyone in the intelligence community, remember those experts, especially those that said that the Hunter Biden laptop story was a Coca-Cola classic Russian disinformation campaign? Well, everyone from former deputy DNI Susan Gordon to good old John Bolton to, oh my goodness, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and even surprise, John Brennan, all are, well, melting down and being triggered that Tulsi Gabbard will be part of the Trump administration. Now, the thing is, besides Tulsi Gabbard, a lot of these people in corporate media, be it on MSNBC or CBS or, you know, any other media outlet, are all saying the same thing, that there's a talk of pardoning one Edward Snowden, or that how she is a direct threat to U.S. security because she could be a Russian spy. Well, first of all, you're making an accusation about a person who served in the U.S. Army National Guard. You're also making an accusation of a person who served in the United States Congress. And these really came to head during the 2020 Democratic primary, in which one Hillary Clinton and corporate media and other Democratic insiders were saying that she was a Russian spy, an Assad puppet, that she was working to destroy our national security and so much more. But the thing is, the FBI opened up, the CIA and NSA had 5 years to really build a strong case. I mean, if there was a case to be done, hell, even Tulsi was put on a terrorist watch list. But if you're going to be making these accusations about a person, you need proof, and they're projecting. Now, there's a lot of things to be critical about Tulsi Gabbard about, and yes, we'll be critical about her as well, but when you see all of corporate media saying the same thing over and over again, this is why corporate media is losing viewership. They just keep on repeating talking points. So here's the whole media meltdown, the establishment meltdown of them responding to Tulsi Gabbard, most notably from the former deputy of the DNI, Sue Gordon, for example. Let's play this video.
Another nerve in the intelligence community, of course, is Edward Snowden. Yes. Tulsi Gabbard and the selection for the Attorney General, Matt Gaetz, put forward resolutions to call for the charges to be dropped against him because he leaked classified national intelligence material. He's living in Russia these days. That kind of a position, how's that going to be received?
She can't respond. Let's listen to that again real quick. She's stuttering there.
Days. That kind of a position, how's that going to be received?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
It reflects a lack of understanding of who we are, and it reflects a lack of respect for what we do. Unauthorized disclosures of intelligence are always bad. Don't go with the good or bad, any good outcome, or whether he was right or wrong. He had no authority and he had different paths, and he harmed America. He not only harmed intelligence, he harmed our allies and partners, and he harmed our businesses by what it allowed China to assume about that. There is nothing justifiable about what he's done. None. And so if they vacate it, what they're basically saying is all those rules you follow in order to be able to serve America, they don't matter anymore.
Okay, first of all, during the 4 years of Trump, he never once pardoned Assange or Snowden. Okay, that's number one. Number one right there. Number two, very important. All this talk, because again, the other videos that I'm going to be playing, they do mention Snowden. I don't know if that's going to be the case. There's a 100% certainty that Snowden just remains where he's at. I don't think anyone's going to be doing anything about that. They're just projecting and using Snowden, because I'll be playing another video in regards to which Tulsi Gabbard on a few occasions did mention and speak about, when she did serve in Congress, about the Trump administration pardoning one Edward Snowden. That never came into fruition. She was one of the few people to actually propose a bill in the House of Representatives. But now with this new administration, we shall see. But don't hold your breath, folks, because you can't hold your breath for 4 years. Nobody can. But this is a way in which the establishment that for a long time smeared and slandered Tulsi Gabbard as being a Russian asset. Again, you have to show proof. Is she a threat? What has she done? Does she have a direct line to Putin? Because as things are standing right now, especially with the potential of U.S. missiles striking deep into Russian territory, I don't think that's the case. But hold on, there's more projection happening by corporate media from our friends at BSD&C. Jen Psaki, take it away.
So let me just start with Tulsi Gabbard, because you served as the CIA director for 4 years. What would having her in charge or in the role of director of national intelligence mean for the intelligence apparatus of the U.S. government?
I think there's so much uncertainty about what Ms. Gabbard would bring to the job. As you pointed out, she has been
And you guys, it's a fantastic job.
an apologist for Vladimir Putin and Bashar al-Assad. So many of her substantive comments, as well as previous actions, have called into question whether or not she has a good understanding of global politics and the U.S. role there. But also, she doesn't have any experience in intelligence. She has never served in the intelligence community. And the Director of National Intelligence is somebody who sits on top of the 18 departments and agencies and needs to orchestrate these agencies so that they collaborate, so that they coordinate, so that they're able to pursue the national security priorities.
Such as silencing and suppressing independent journalists, people exposing corruption and abuse of power. I'm not expecting much from the new administration, but seeing the old administration state comments that reveal their hypocrisy says much about them. This whole big threat of somehow Tulsi will do this and Tulsi will that. Remember, a lot of these people that Trump appointed have to be approved. And there's a chance that some of them won't get past the Senate approval. Maybe some will, maybe some won't. We shall see. But why do you keep on bringing up Snowden? It's because, well, see, Snowden has been proven correct that we are being spied in on, that we are being observed, that we have a system that is ever paranoid in spying in on its own citizens. Say it with me. What could go wrong?
In an effective fashion. So they need to have some understanding of the human intelligence, technical signals intelligence, geospatial intelligence, other types of things. And she has none of that. And third, she doesn't have the executive leadership experience of running a large organization. And under the Director of National Intelligence comes the National Counterterrorism Center, National Counterintelligence Center, Counterproliferation, Malign Influence Center as well. So there's just a lot of responsibilities. And so the people, the professionals that are in these 18 intelligence agencies want to have confidence that the person who sits on top of them, and that person by law is the president's principal intelligence advisor.
I also want to put this up here. Mrs. Sangi says, I can't believe Democrats are complaining about Democrats being appointed to Trump's cabinet. And what everyone should remember is that RFK Jr., Tulsi, and yes, even Trump himself, all used to be Democrats at one point or another. Hell, even Elon Musk too. But as the great George Carlin said, it is one big club, and you ain't in it.
Advisor is going to be carrying out the duties in a qualified way, but also in a apolitical, objective fashion. And I think there are serious questions that have been raised about Ms. Gabbard's ability to do that based on her lack of experience, as well as her very questionable comments that she has made and statements.
Like what statements? What comments? What comments? Here's everyone's favorite Democrat. Remember her? A face that you all love? Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Never forget that this was the big brain, the face, that also handsome face that was behind what happened in 2016 when Bernie Sanders got screwed over, even though he let the screwing over happen to him. This was the person. This is the face of integrity. Ramen noodle hair herself, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Tulsi Gabbard is someone who has met with war criminals, violated the Department of State's guidance, and secretly, clandestinely went to Syria and met with Assad, who gassed and attacked his own people with chemical weapons. She's considered to be essentially, by most assessments, a Russian asset, and would be the most.
Is that how you consider her? Is that what you consider her?
Oh, yes. There's no question.
Evidence and proof. Proof and evidence. That's what you need. This is all projection. I want to pull up another video here.
About who the president-elect has selected for his director of national intelligence, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. You have described her as a national security threat. What do you think, just having now had that information kind of set in and seeing that he is confident in pushing her forward, what do you think generally about that pick, if we can just get a little more thought on that? And then also,
Surfing Yeti gone bad. Get up and go see the White House counselor. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Baba Duke. Doke.
Two, what might that mean for the war in Ukraine, where she has been known to spout some Russian propaganda?
Well, I think in the transition period, there's always a lot of blue smoke and mirrors from the incoming administration. This is a very serious mistake if Tulsi Gabbard is allowed to take over as Director of National Intelligence. To begin with, she has zero experience.
This is the same guy, John Bolton, that Donald Trump said, yeah, I only used him to make people be afraid, but he was a total idiot. But, he would have John Bolton there. Right. Bolton is one of the people from the Bush-Cheney administration. Okay. John Bolton is one of those people that just really was foaming at the mouth for Afghanistan and Iraq. This is the same guy who's starving for conflict with Iran. This is the same guy who just wants all out total war. I mean, that's the one thing he sleeps about. That's the one thing he dreams about. That's the one thing he makes loves about. WAR. The guy's calling everything a national security threat and calling Tulsi Gabbard a threat. You have to show proof. What has she done? Did she somehow take off her mask and say, ha ha ha, I work for Russia now, and then fly off into the air? No. If you're going to be critical about a politician or anyone that's going to be part of Trump's administration, bring evidence and facts, okay? Look at past actions. Now, all this projection of somehow the thought and idea of Edward Snowden being pardoned, I don't see that happening. If it does happen, it'll be a miracle. It would be something that one should look into. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how the establishment is saying that Tulsi's going to do this and Tulsi's going to do that. Remember, she's not president of the United States. She's part of Trump's administration, and it's Trump that's going to be making the decision about that. And if Trump didn't do it in the first 4 years that he was in office, he ain't going to probably most likely do it now. All right? Same thing with the whole situation with one Julian Assange. He could have done the right thing and just let Assange go. But he didn't. And it helped open the door. No, not open up the door. Blow down the wall for the wave of censorship that we've been dealing with from 2020 up until now. And it seems to me that things are getting progressively worse. Say it with me. What could possibly go wrong? This is all projection. This is a media establishment with the politicians that are projecting their fears upon the audience, the people. The people that consume are still hypnotized by corporate media. Show me the evidence and proof that Tulsi's a threat or that she's somehow going to get Edward Snowden back. That's not going to happen. You want to know who makes that decision? It's the president. It's the president. It's the president. It's the president. And it's going to be most likely 100% no.
Dealing with the intelligence community. And that position was set up by Congress, mistakenly in my view, but they set it up to coordinate all intelligence agencies within the government. She doesn't have the slightest idea what the job involves. As a member of Congress, she got intelligence briefings that she often said she didn't believe. I don't think she has any basis on which to manage.
I think it's okay to say that the intelligence briefings, you don't believe them because, folks, WMDs in Iraq, were they there or not there? They weren't there. The Hunter Biden laptop story is a Coca-Cola classic Russian disinformation. Oh, wait, turns out it was a true story. What about Russiagate? Oh, yeah, it turns out that was fake. All these quote-unquote intelligence agencies seem to be screwing it up. I mean, the key word in intelligence is called intelligence.
Manage this huge and critically important function of the federal government. And number two, she has over the years spouted delusional beliefs about events in Syria, about events in Iran, about Russian policy, that her own fellow members of Congress have said amount to repeating Russian propaganda. She's not capable of doing it. Her judgment is non-existent. And the idea that somehow she would be put in charge of this critical function should be giving our adversaries in Moscow and Beijing a lot of relief.
A lot of relief in how. So first of all, let's talk about Snowden because this was brought up many years ago. I think it's only fair that we play it again. This was brought up in 2019 when Tulsi Gabbard showed up on Joe Rogan's podcast. Now, this was his interview with her way back when she was running in the 2020 Democratic primary. But to be clear here, Snowden, what he did was reveal we're being spied by our government. Your phone calls, your emails, your text messages, all of it on all your social media platforms. And we've done numerous stories about how third-party outlets on social media are taking your information and selling it to other vendors out there. So if you ever wonder why you log onto your smartphone and you see a commercial for a product that you like, it's because you're being listened to. You're being heard into. And this calls into question just what our rights are as sovereign citizens in this country. And Snowden did the right thing, the correct thing, by exposing the abuse of power because, if you're able to, listen to someone's phone calls, maybe log onto their webcam and see what they're doing, are you telling me that there won't be people out there that will abuse that power? That there won't be people out there that will want to hurt others? I mean, this is where we're at here, folks. And the NSA was revealed as an institution that just looks into its citizens. I mean, in theory, you would expect like, hey, we got to protect our country from evil bad guys out there. But that's Saturday morning cartoon logic. That doesn't apply. So let's play this video here about Snowden.
Edward Snowden, the charges against him stem from this illegal operation that he, in many ways, he's very patriotic. I mean, he let us know, and at great cost.
Yeah.
So you would give him a pardon.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got to address why he did the things the way that he did them.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear the same thing from Chelsea Manning, how there's not an actual channel for whistleblowers like them to bring forward information that exposes egregious abuses of our constitutional rights and liberties. I remember the very day that I woke up, looked at my phone, started looking through the headlines, and saw those headlines about how the NSA was mass surveilling all of us and collecting our phone records, collecting our cell phone records. And I was shocked. So that was something that Snowden uncovered, something that I don't know that even as members of Congress we would have been aware of. So now that we were aware of it, then, hey, we can take action to close those loopholes, to change those policies, to protect our civil liberties, to protect our Fourth Amendment constitutional rights as Americans. Was the NSA going to disclose that information voluntarily on their own? Absolutely not. Absolutely
no, we would
not.
have had no idea.
No.
We would have had suspicions, but then again, we'd have tinfoil hats on.
Mhm.
And Snowden was the guy that really made it abundantly clear to everybody that not only are they doing that, but they're also lying about it.
Yeah.
During those 4 years, Trump didn't do anything. During the Biden years, Biden didn't do anything. Process elimination, I don't see Trump doing anything about that either. And I don't see Trump saying, hey, Assange, sorry, my bad, I made an oopsie. Let's be clear here. A lot of brave people who have exposed war crimes and other abuses of power seem to be the ones that go behind bars or have to escape. And the bad guys, well, they get off scot-free.
Yeah.
And even Obama was talking, we're just collecting metadata.
Yeah.
Like, metadata? Like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're reading messages. You could do anything.
Exactly.
This is just not an accurate assessment of what was going on.
No.
And it was outrageous to people.
And you had, I think he was the director of the Department of National Intelligence at that time, James Clapper, who sat before a committee in the United States Senate and blatantly lied.
Yeah.
He was asked very directly, are you collecting this information? And he said no.
Yeah.
Are you collecting this information on American citizens? And he said no. And yet he's somebody who you see on TV almost every day as an expert in this country without any consequence, lying to the American people.
So we'll see what happens. But looking at another article here, this is from The Hill. Everyone who has seemed to be triggered by Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard's expressed support for national security leakers and her elevation of Russian-backed narratives are coming under renewed scrutiny after President-elect Trump nominated her to the highest intelligence post in the country. Okay, again, where's the proof and evidence? The evidence and proof that she's backing Russian-backed narratives. Maybe she's giving her opinion as a congresswoman. You had Debbie Wasserman Schultz say, well, she met with dictators and bad people. Well, U.S. congressmen and women in the past and even now have visited and spoke with or had communications with dictators or tyrants, because guess what? Sometimes Congress people have to do fact-finding missions, which is what, oh my goodness, that's part of their job. I know most of the time they're on the phone calling their donors for money, but occasionally on a rare blue moon Monday, they go out there and have to do their job or have to do things or make it look like they're working. I mean, we could be here for days talking about Democratic and Republican lawmakers or Democratic or Republican presidential administrations and their people within those said administrations meeting with dictators and tyrants and warlords and other nefarious people. I mean, my goodness gracious, never ask about Ronnie Boy Reagan and the Taliban. Never talk about that, people. Never bring that up. Hey, don't ask about Rumsfeld, meeting up with a guy you never heard of him before. First name Saddam, last name Hussein. Oh, wait, let's not talk about Bill Clinton also meeting with a fair share of nefarious people, or even, oh my goodness, Barack Obama or Bush Jr. Do you want to bring that up? Because we're going to be here for a long time talking about senators and Congress, men and women and other people meeting with these nefarious people. And he's with that expressing concern like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be involved in this region. Hey, maybe we shouldn't be involved in this war. Hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Or, hey, maybe this policy could really backfire on the American people. Say it with me, folks. We know about the intelligence community and how they've gotten things wrong in the past. Weapons of mass destruction, giving weapons to terrorist organizations. I mean, what could possibly go wrong except we've been dealing with the fallout and failures of the intelligence services here in this country for quite some time, with the aftermath of devastation and corruption and destruction of many countries in North Africa and the Middle East and South America and Central America. Never asked the CIA what it did in regards to helping out the cartels come into existence. I mean, we don't want to talk about that, do we? We don't talk about the regime change wars and the instability that happened or the coups that took place. Never talk about how the intelligence communities kind of upended everything in this little known country. You never heard about it in the 1950s. There was this national government in Iran, and oh my goodness, big oil, British intelligence and American intelligence decided to go in there and do a coup, and they replaced the national government with the Shah. And turns out the Shah did such a terrible job. There's this guy who came along, the Ayatollah, no, not of rock and roller, took over and made Iran what it is today. Cause and effect. But this fear of Tulsi being this Russian agent and boogie, all of a sudden people are in trouble now. It's projection. Do I think them bringing up Snowden is a way for them to try and discredit Tulsi? Yeah, they're going to try and do that. But Tulsi Gabbard was one of the few people to talk about pardoning Edward Snowden, especially when she was in Congress. You didn't hear that from AOC or the squad. They were never going to do that. And Trump was never going to do it. Biden was never going to do it, even though what Snowden did was quite heroic. How do you feel about your metadata or your private information being looked into or sold? None of you like it. Across the political spectrum. None of you like it. So this is all just fear. This is all just propaganda. And this is stuff that we here at Hardlands Media had to take apart. We had to break apart these stories calling Tulsi Gabbard a Russian agent. Okay, so she was in Syria. So have other politicians. Other politicians across the country have been to other dangerous parts of the world, meeting with representatives or said leaders themselves. That's nothing new. First time? Absolutely not. But because corporate media views its audience as children, it's going to talk to its audience and say, hey, this person, very, very bad, and never really go into details of proper criticism. This is the state of the media, and yet the media wonders why no one's looking into it or trusting it anymore.